Hi and welcome back to Mike's Corner. It's another Will It Work? So, as you know, I quite like my retro stuff, and one of my retro systems is missing from my top shelf because I've got it here. So here is my Commodore 64 silver label. It's quite rare, and I'd like to keep it working with all my Commodore kind of stuff, my Commodore 64s especially. Now, here we have a Commodore 64 power supply. Now, the way it works is that there's a 10-volt DC and there's a 5-volt AC part of the power supply. Now, the problem we have is that the 5-volt part of the power supply has a problem. And what it will do, when it breaks or blows, it will send so much voltage through the 5-volt rail and blow the actual 64 up. Not physically, but actually blow a chip or actually cause more damage to the system board. So what do? Do we purchase an expensive power supply to replace it with? Or do we try a little fusion? Here's a PSP charger for a Sony PSP. That's a 5-volt AC charger. Let's try and combine these, shall we? So you're joining me in my workshop where I've got the Commodore 64 power supply and the PSP power supply. Let me just actually do a bit of a disclaimer here. This is me just doing something with electronics. I don't want you to do it per se, and if you blow yourself up doing it, it's not my fault. This is just educational, so you can actually see, will it actually fit and will it work? So I'm going to do this. If I kill myself, then that's on me. But if you kill yourself, then I can't be held responsible. But anyway, let's get to it. So we're going to open this up. Now it's already kind of coming apart a little bit for how old it is. They kind of let go over the years and if they're battered about a little bit. So before we take it apart, we want to check the voltages on it, and this will help you understand what we're looking for. So that's plugged in, and what we're going to do, we're going to get the old multimeter out, and we're going to check that the voltages are actually correct at the moment. So the two pins that are closest to each other, they're your 5-volt, and then the ones down the bottom are your 10-volt. So we do the 10-volt first because we've got it on the DC. So we're going to hold it to there and there. There you go, it's just over 10-volt. And we switch it to the AC. There you go, there's your AC 5-volt as well. So currently this power supply is working, but who knows for how long. So we want to get this taken apart, strip out the parts we don't need anymore, and then see if the PSP power supply will fit in there. It looks a really good fit. So let's get this off and see what we have. So I'm going to slowly edge this up without trying to damage the actual power supply shell too much. Let's do this. There we go. So, as I said, over the years they give up and they just let go. Here we go. Right, so as you can see, the main transformer is actually encased in epoxy resin, and you can't get to that in the slightest. The things that we're interested in is this bit here and this bit here. So you've got your live and you've got your minus. And then there's a couple of cables we want to work with here. So you've got your white cable here and your green cable here. So they're the ones we really want to work with. This we want to take out. We don't need this anymore. That's your 5-volt rail there. So it's not really a lot in there. There's not really a lot in there to protect the actual system from overvoltage. It's just a really basic board. So we're going to remove this. But first, before we remove this, we're going to open up the PSP power supply and see what we've got in there. Okay, so here we have the PSP power supply, purchased off eBay. And just to give you an idea of the price differences, the PSP power supply you can pick up from about £8, but to get yourself an actual 5-volt AC power supply circuit board, they're anywhere from £25 to £30, and this seems the cheapest possible way of doing it. So we're going to open this up and see what the circuit board's like and see how we can actually fit it inside there. So let's get this open. Let's get this open. And there we go. Look at the difference between, I know obviously there's been time since this was created and this has been created, but here we have the circuit board for the Commodore. There we have the PSP circuit board. And it's obviously there's protection circuits in here and it's more modern technology. So this will be what we'll be going with, and we'll be removing this. So here we have the removed circuit board of old Commodore equipment, and good riddance really. I don't want it to actually kill my Commodore 64, so that's done. Now there is a couple of things here that because I'm a bit of a purist, I will hold on to this and I will make this so it's reversible and it can be put back to how it was. So what we do with that, we don't have to do anything with this transistor. However, we have to do something with these legs because they provide power to the 5-volt rail. What we're going to do, we're going to put some shrink wrap on them and just make sure that they can't short out on anything. So it'll be completely reversible. Okay, so now I've got some shrink wrapping and I'm going to just put it over the top of these legs and we're going to warm it up so it actually shrinks around. Okay, there we go. Now they've got the shrink wrapping on them. What we're going to do is we're going to just move these out of the way. So here we have the PSP power supply, and I want to retain some of the power cable because once it's in here, I want this power to go over here. So I'm going to basically unsheath the actual power cable to get enough power cable that I can solder it to that. So let me do that now. Okay, so as you can see, I've unsheathed enough cable to do what I need here. And then we're going to go and do the same thing on the opposite side as well. So here's the board ready for installation. And with the actual, I've left the original wires on there. I just put a shrink wrap on the actual earth. So it's now a wire. And really, really, really simple installation of this. It's going to be white to white, green to black. It's going to be your neutral to neutral, and then your live to live. Really simple. I'm going to get that put in and I'll catch you after. So here we are after doing a little bit of cable tidying. That is 100% fine now. Once we put the bottom back on again, that'll push those into place. So we're going to do a quick power on test and we're going to do a voltage check as well. Let's see if it still works. Okay, so that's now switched on. And we're going to do a quick voltage check. Obviously, don't put your fingers anywhere near live mains. Okay, so we're going to check the 5-volt rail first. There we go, 5 volt. And a 10-volt rail to make sure that still works. $10 volts. Perfect. So we're going to put this back together again, and we're going to go and plug it into a Commodore 64. So you join me at my test Commodore 64, currently with no power supply plugged in. We have the power supply on the floor down here, and we're going to plug it in. Okay, and as you can see, I've got the cable that's connected to it. We're going to grab this, and we're going to plug it in. We're going to see what happens. That's in there. Here we go, moment of truth. Hello me. There we go. Perfect. Look at that. A modified Commodore 64 power supply using a PSP charger. Amazing. So there we have the modified Commodore 64 power supply. It's now a form of fusion with the PSP power supply and the original Commodore 64 power supply. Now, I don't know if I remember to actually mention the 10-volt rail on the Commodore 64 power supplies rarely fails. It's always the 5-volt rail. So replacing the 5-volt rail was a good thing to do to actually prolong if you kind of like using the original Commodore 64 power supplies, but with a more up-to-date circuit board in them. And PSP power supplies are a dime a dozen, in all honesty, and they're readily abundant. So a really, really effective, cheap modification for the Commodore 64 power supply that works. So that brings me to the end of another Will It Work? And it did work, which was great. Now, if this helped you, please don't kill yourself. But if this helped you and you think, that was great and give me an idea, don't kill yourself, then think about whacking the like and subscribe, because it helps me out as a channel and I can do some more Will It Works. That, as always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next video. Don't kill yourself.